Hey guys, tonight we slip into perfumed world of Mughal Courtier, where every sunrise hums with the promise of grandeur and just a hint of danger. Picture yourself in a sprawling palace, its marble arches catching the first pink streaks of dawn, the air thick with jasmine and ambition. You're not just anyone. You're a trusted noble in the court of Emperor Akbar, navigating a world of silk robes, rosewater baths, and whispered plots that could topple dynasties. It's a life of luxury, sure, but one wrong step, and you might find yourself exiled to some dusty outpost. Trust me, you probably won't survive this unscathed. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The day begins before the sun dares to peek over the horizon. You're roused by the faint, rhythmic thud of drums echoing from the palace's outer gates, a signal that the Mughal court is stirring. Your chambers, draped in embroidered silks, glow faintly with a flicker of oil lamps as attendants glide in, silent as shadows. They carry copper basins of warm water, scented with rose petals, a daily ritual that's as much about status as cleanliness. You sip on your low, cushioned divan, rubbing sleep from your eyes, and catch the first whiff of the rose water, sweet, almost cloying, like a dessert you can't quite finish. It's 1575, and you're in Fatehpur Sikri, Akbar's gleaming new capital, where every detail screams opulence. The water splashes gently as you dip your hands, the coolness waking your senses. Your attendants, trained to anticipate your every need, lay out a tray of almonds and saffron-infused milk. You sip slowly, savoring the nutty warmth, while outside, peacocks screech, oblivious to the palace's grandeur. This isn't just a morning routine. It's a performance of power. The Mughal Empire, at its peak, spans from the Himalayas to the Deccan, and you're a cog in its dazzling machine. Historical records, like those from Akbar's chronicler Abu al-Fazl, describe courtiers starting their days with such rituals, signaling loyalty and refinement. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers, superstitious to a fault, would only bathe after consulting astrologers to ensure the stars align for a prosperous wash. Imagine waiting for a priest to approve your bath time. Talk about a cosmic spa day. Historians still argue whether these rituals were purely cultural or a subtle way to enforce discipline among nobles, keeping everyone in lockstep with the emperor's vision. You slip into a cotton tunic, light as a whisper, and an attendant drapes a brocade robe over your shoulders, its gold threads catching the lamplight. The robe's weight feels like the empire itself, impressive but heavy. You glance at a bronze mirror, its surface slightly warped, and adjust the turban perched on your head. It's adorned with single emerald, a gift from a grateful merchant you once favored in court. The day ahead looms large. You'll face the emperor's piercing gaze, navigate rival noble schemes, and maybe, if you're lucky, catch a sitar recital by evening. For now, though, you step onto the balcony, where the air is cool and the city below hums with life. Camels groan under spice-laden carts, and somewhere a muezzin's call weaves through the dawn. You're not just waking up. You're stepping into a chess game where every move counts. The palace is a labyrinth of courtyards and corridors, and you know its pulse by heart. As you descend a marble staircase, servants bow, their eyes averted, but you catch a flicker of curiosity in one young attendant's glance. What's he thinking? Probably wondering if you'll snag a bigger title this year, or trip over your own ambition. It's a fair question. The Mughal court is a pressure cooker, where loyalty to Akbar is tested daily. You pass a fountain, its water tinkling like a lullaby, and smirk at the thought of a rival who once slipped on these slick tiles during a monsoon. No one mentions it, but everyone remembers. The court's memory is long, and its grudges longer. Your first stop is at 1 a.m., the Hall of Public Audience, where the emperor will soon hold court. The space is vast, its red sandstone pillars carved with vines and geometric patterns that seem to shift in the dawn light. You pause, taking in the scent of polished wood and the faint tang of incense. A few early risers, other courtiers, their robes as ostentatious as yours, murmur in corners, their voices low. They're already plotting, aren't they? You can almost hear the clink of their mental abacuses, tallying favors and slights. One of them, a wiry man with a beard like a bird's nest, nods at you. You nod back, but your smile is a mask. Trust is a luxury you can't afford here. Before the emperor arrives, you have a moment to gather your thoughts. You lean against a pillar, cool against your palm, and watch a pair of doves flutter across the courtyard. They're free, unlike you, tethered to court's endless dance of power. A servant offers you a betel leaf wrapped around spices, a common morning pick-me-up. You chew slowly, the sharp taste of cloves waking you further. It said Akbar himself chews betel to stay sharp during long audiences, though, knowing him, he probably does it to intimidate anyone with bad breath. You chuckle at the thought, earning a curious glance from a passing scribe. Let him wonder. A little mystery keeps you safe. The drums grow louder, signaling the emperor's approach. Your pulse quickens, not from fear. Well, maybe a little, but from the thrill of the game. Akbar's court is a stage, and you're a seasoned player. You straighten your robe, adjust your turban, and step forward, ready to face the day. The rosewater scent lingers on your skin, a reminder of the luxury that cushions this dangerous life. But for now, the sun's rising, the court's waking, and you're right where you belong, at least until someone decides you don't. You leave the douane behind, its echoes of murmured plots fading as you step into a quieter wing of the palace. The morning air carries a faint chill, but the rosewater bath you're headed for promises warmth and a moment to breathe before the court's chaos engulfs you. Your sandals slap softly against the marble floor, each step a reminder of the day's wait. The corridor opens to a private hammam, its arched entrance framed by turquoise tiles that shimmer like a desert mirage. Inside, steam curls upward, heavy with the scent of roses, and you can't help but feel like you're walking into a perfumed cloud. The attendants, ever-present shadows, are already at work, pouring warm water into a shallow marble basin. You shed your outer robe, handing it to a young boy who bows, so low you worry he'll topple. He doesn't, of course. These kids are trained like acrobats. The rosewater bath is no mere dip. It's a ritual, a status symbol woven into the fabric of Mughal life. Historical accounts, like those in the Akbari, detail how courtiers used scented baths to signal wealth and loyalty to the emperor's refined tastes. You step into the basin, the water lapping at your ankles, warm and silky from oils mixed with crushed rose petals. It's almost too luxurious, like bathing in a dessert you'd rather eat. You sink deeper, letting the heat loosen your shoulders. An attendant pours a slow stream over your back, and you close your eyes, imagining for a second you're just a guy enjoying a spa day. But no, you're a courtier, and every moment is a calculated step in Akbar's grand chess game. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers swore by adding sandalwood paste to their baths, claiming it warded off evil spirits. You've tried it once, mostly because your rival, that bearded schemer from the hall, bragged about it. It just made you smell like a carpenter's workshop, not exactly the vibe you're going for. Historians still argue whether these elaborate baths were about hygiene or a subtle way to flaunt proximity to the emperor's favor. After all, only the elite could afford such fragrant extravagance. You're not sure where you stand on that debate, but you're not complaining as the rose water soaks into your skin, leaving you feeling like a polished jewel. An attendant hands you a muslin cloth, and you scrub gently, the fabric gliding over your arms. The water surface ripples, catching the light from a lattice window high above, where sunlight spills in like liquid gold. You glance up, noticing the intricate carvings on the ceiling. Lotus flowers and vines, each petal a testament to the artisans who built this place. It's humbling, but only for a second. Humility doesn't survive long in Akbar's court. You step out dripping, and another attendant wraps you in a cotton towel, so soft it feels like a cloud's apology. They're quick, these attendants, their hands moving with the precision of a sitar player's fingers. You wonder if they ever tire of serving nobles who barely notice them. Probably, but they're too smart to show it. Now comes the robe, the real star of this morning's performance. An attendant unfolds a jama, a long tunic of white cotton so fine it's almost translucent, embroidered with gold threads that catch the light like tiny suns. Over goes a choga, a heavier robe of green silk, its hem stitched with silver flowers. You feel like a walking tapestry, which is a point. Every courtier is a billboard for their own ambition. The sash, tied just so, is a deep indigo, dyed with pigments worth more than a farmer's yearly harvest. You adjust it, catching your reflection in a nearby bronze basin. Not bad, you think, though the turban's emerald is still the real showstopper. You're ready for court, but not without a quick smirk at the thought of your rival tripping over his own sash last week. The court laughed for days. Poor guy still recovering. As you slip on jeweled sandals, the attendant offers a small brass box of coal. You dab a bit under your eyes, a habit you picked up from the emperor's own style. It's practical, too. Cuts the desert glare when you're out inspecting the stables later. The coal makes your eyes pop, or so the poet laureate claimed last month, probably angling for a favor. You're not above flattery, but you're not a fool either. The hammam steam lingers in the air as you step back into the corridor, your robes rustling like a soft breeze. The rosewater scent clings to you, a subtle armor against the day's coming battles. Outside, the palace is waking fully now. You hear the clatter of carts in the distance, likely delivering spices for the kitchens, and the low hum of servants gossiping as they sweep the courtyards. You pass a niche in the wall, where a single oil lamp burns, its flame steady despite the morning breeze. It's a small thing, but it reminds you of the empire's vast machinery. Every detail, from lamps to armies, meticulously maintained. You nod to a passing noble, his turban so tall it's practically an architectural marvel. He nods back, but his eyes are calculating, probably sizing up your new robe. Good luck. Buddy, you think. You're not outdressing me today. The corridor leads to a courtyard where a fountain burbles, its water catching the rising sun. You pause just for a moment to watch a sparrow splash in shallows. It's a rare, quiet beat in a day that's about to get loud. The emperor's court awaits, and with it, 1,000 eyes watching your every move. You straighten, feeling the silk of your robe shift against your skin, and take a deep breath. The rosewater's sweetness mixes with the courtyard's fresh air, grounding you. You're ready, or as ready as you'll ever be. The drums are silent now, but the day's rhythm is just beginning, and you're already dancing to it. You step from the perfumed haze of the hammam into a sunlit courtyard, where the air hums with the clatter of copper trays and the chatter of servants. Your robes, still crisp from the morning's ritual, swish as you make your way to a shaded pavilion where breakfast awaits. The scent of rosewater clings to you, but now it's joined by the tantalizing aroma of saffron and cardamom wafting from the spread before you. Low tables are laden with dishes, golden parathas, glistening with ghee, bowls of creamy yogurt swirled with honey, and platters of dates stuffed with almonds. You settle onto a silk cushion, the fabric cool against your legs, and an attendant slides a brass plate in front of you. The palace kitchen's a labyrinth of fire and spice, never disappoint, and you're about to dive into a meal fit for, well, someone like you, a courtier balancing on the edge of glory and disaster. This isn't just breakfast. It's a display of Mughal wealth and precision. Historical records, like those from the court chronicler Abu al-Fazl, describe meals as carefully orchestrated as military campaigns, with kitchens employing hundreds to feed the elite. You pick up a paratha, its flaky layers crumbling under your fingers, and dip it into a spiced lentil stew, the heat of chili waking your senses. A quirky tidbit. Some nobles insisted on eating only with silver spoons, believing they detect poison, because nothing says, "I trust my colleagues," like a metal taste test. You stick to your fingers, though, savoring the tactile pleasure of tearing bread and scooping curry. Historians still argue whether these lavish meals were about nourishment or a subtle flex of imperial control, ensuring courtiers stayed loyal through full bellies. The pavilion buzzes with activity. Servants glide between tables, their arms laden with trays of mango slices and rose-scented sherbet. You sip the sherbet, its sweetness cutting through the spice, and glance at the other courtiers nearby. There's that wiry noble from the Douaim, his beard still a disaster, picking at a plate of kebabs like he's solving a puzzle. You catch his eye and offer a nod, but your mind's already elsewhere, on the emperor's mood today, on the petitions you'll face, on the rival who's been too quiet lately. The court's a stage, and breakfast is just the opening act. You pop a date into your mouth, its nutty center crunching satisfyingly, and lean back, letting the morning's warmth settle over you. A peacock struts past, its tail feathers dragging like a royal train, and you can't help but chuckle. Nature's show-off, stealing the spotlight without even trying. It reminds you of a certain lord who wore a peacock feather turban last month. Bold move, until it toppled during a bow to Akbar. The court's still laughing about that one behind his back. You take another sip of sherbet, the glass cool against your palm, and notice a servant hovering nearby, waiting for your plate to empty. They're good at this, anticipating your needs before you do. But you wave them off for now. Let them sweat a little. It's the least you can do to keep the hierarchy clear. The food keeps coming. Small bowls of biryani, fragrant with cloves and star anise, and a dish of roasted quail, its skin crisp and spiced with cumin. You tear into quail, the meat tender and smoky, and think about the kitchen's unseen army, cooks who've mastered recipes passed down through generations, each dish a tiny embassy of the empire's reach. The saffron in your biryani, sourced from Kashmir, worth its weight in gold. The quails, hunted in the forest beyond Fate Persikri, a reminder of the land you helped govern. You're not just eating. You're tasting the empire's sprawl, from snowy peaks to coastal plains. A breeze stirs the pavilion's curtains, carrying the faint twang of a sitar being tuned somewhere in the palace. It's too early for recitals, but the sound sets your mind drifting to the evening's promise of music and poetry. For now, though, you focus on the plate before you, another paratha, another scoop of lentils, and a handful of pistachios for good measure. You chew slowly, savoring the textures, and watch a servant fan a nearby noble with a peacock feather fan. Overkill, you think, but it's hard to judge when you're lounging on silk, eating like a king. You smirk at the thought of your old tutor, who'd lecture you on moderation while sneaking extra sweets. Hypocrite, but a lovable one. The meal winds down and you lean back, patting your stomach. The servants clear the table with the efficiency of soldiers, their movements a quiet ballet. You rise, your robe settling around you, and take a final sip of sherbet, its rosewater tang a callback to your morning bath. The courtyard's busier now, with nobles drifting toward the emperor's hall, their voices a low hum of anticipation. You spot a familiar face, a poet who owes you a favor, and consider calling him over, but the day's duties are pressing. The emperor's court waits for no one, not even a well-fed courtier with rosewater on his skin and ambition in his heart. You step out of the pavilion, the sun now higher, warming the marble underfoot. A servant offers a damp cloth to wipe your hands, and you take it, nodding your thanks. The gesture feels small, but you know it's noticed. Courtiers who ignore the help don't last long here. The drums from dawn are silent, but the palace's rhythm pulses on, pulling you toward the douam. You adjust your sash, the silk smooth against your fingers, and stride forward, the taste of cardamom lingering on your tongue. Breakfast was a brief reprieve. Now the real game begins. You weave through the palace's bustling corridors, the taste of cardamom from breakfast still lingering as you head toward the douam, where the emperor's court is in full swing. The air hums with the low buzz of voices, nobles, scribes, and petitioners jockeying for position under the vast canopy of red sandstone arches. Your robes, heavy with silk and silver thread, brush against the cool marble floor, and you catch the faint scent of rosewater still clinging to your skin, a quiet reminder of the morning's calm. That calm's gone now, replaced by the electric tension of court life. You're a courtier, not just a fancy dresser, and this is where the real work happens, where whispers turn into alliances and a single misstep could land you in a frontier fort, counting camels instead of courtiers. The hall is a spectacle, its pillars carved with geometric patterns that seem to pulse in the flickering torchlight. Akbar sits on a raised throne, his presence like a storm cloud, magnetic, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. Historical accounts, like those in the Barnama, paint him as a ruler who thrived on debate, often pitting nobles against each other to test their loyalty. You feel his gaze sweep the room, and your spine straightens instinctively. Around you, courtiers murmur, their voices a tapestry of flattery and veiled threats. You spot your bearded rival across the hall, his turban slightly askew. Did he rush his morning prep? You suppress a smirk. Amateur hour, you think, but you're too seasoned to let it show. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers carried tiny sandalwood fans, not for cooling, but to wave dramatically during arguments, as if a breeze could sway the emperor's mind. You've never tried it. Too theatrical, even for you. But you've seen it backfire when one noble's fan flicked dust into Akbar's face. The poor guy's still inspecting border garrisons. Historians still argue whether these courtly theatrics were about genuine influence or just a way to keep the emperor entertained, like a human chess game. You lean toward the latter, but you're not here to philosophize. You're here to survive. You ease into a cluster of nobles near the throne, where the air's thick with intrigue. A merchant from Surat, his turban dripping with pearls, is whispering about a spice caravan delayed by bandits. You catch his eye, nodding as if you care, but your mind's on the bigger game. A rival noble's been cozying up to the emperor's treasurer, and that's a problem. You need that treasurer's ear for your own pet project, a new irrigation canal that could win you favor in the provinces. You sidle closer to a scribe, a wiry man with ink-stained fingers, and murmur a question about the treasurer's mood. The scribe shrugs, but his glance says he'll expect a favor later. Fair enough. Nothing's free here. A petitioner steps forward, a farmer from Agra, his hands calloused and his voice trembling as he begs for tax relief. You listen, half distracted, noting how Akbar leans forward, his eyes sharp. The emperor is known for his fairness, but he's no pushover. Last week, he dismissed a similar plea with a wave, sending the petitioner scurrying. You make a mental note to tread carefully if you're called to speak today. The farmer's plea drags on, and you catch a noble rolling his eyes. You stifle a chuckle. Patience isn't this court's strong suit, but mocking a peasant in front of Akbar? Risky move, buddy. The hall's noise dips as a new figure enters, a Rajput chieftain, his armor clinking softly, his beard braided with gold thread. He's a wild card, loyal to Akbar, but prickly about his clan's autonomy. You've dealt with him before. He's as likely to share a joke as to draw a dagger. You nod, and he returns a curt nod, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk's. The court's a pressure cooker, and every new arrival turns up the heat. You adjust your sash, feeling the weight of the emerald in your turban, and step closer to the throne's edge, where the real power plays unfold. A servant offers you a silver cup of pomegranate juice, and you sip it, the tartness cutting through the hall's heavy air. It's a small gesture, but you know it's strategic. Someone signaling they're watching you, maybe currying favor. You scan the room, but no one meets your gaze. Typical court nonsense, you think, like playing chess blindfolded while everyone else cheats. You set the cup down and focus on the chieftain, who's now speaking to Akbar about a border skirmish. His voice is steady, but you catch the tension in his shoulders. Trouble's brewing, and you need to know where you stand before it spills over. The morning drags on, with petitions piling up like monsoon clouds. You whisper to a fellow courtier about the Treasurer's canal project, planting seeds for an alliance. He nods, but his smile's too tight, probably reporting to someone else already. You make a mental note to double-check his loyalties later. The hall's heat is rising, and you're grateful for the Rosewater's lingering coolness on your skin. A fly buzzes past, and you swat away, half wishing you could swat away the court's endless scheming. But this is your world, silk robes, sharp tongues, and all. The Emperor's gaze sweeps the room again, and you stand a little taller, ready for whatever comes next. You slip away from the Duaneum's simmering tension, the Emperor's piercing gaze still lingering in your mind as you head toward a quieter wing of the palace. The marble corridors, polished to a mirror sheen, reflect your silk robes, their silver threads glinting like stars against the green fabric. Your sandals whisper against the floor, and a faint scent of rosewater trails you, a ghostly reminder of your morning bath. Now, though, it's time for the less glamorous side of court life. Paperwork. You're bound for a small chamber where scribes hunch over scrolls, their quills scratching like insects in the midday heat. As a courtier, you're not just a pretty face in a turban. You're a cog in a Mughal empire's vast bureaucratic machine, tasked with sifting through petitions, tax records, and the occasional cryptic letter from a provincial governor. The chamber is a stark contrast to the grand hall you left behind. Low ceilings, flickering oil lamps, and shelves stuffed with parchment create a cozy, almost claustrophobic feel. You settle onto a cushion at a low wooden desk, its surface scarred from years of ink spills. A scribe, his fingers stained black, hands you a stack of scrolls. Petitions from merchants, farmers, and minor nobles, each one a small drama of desperation or ambition. Historical records, like those in the Ain-i-Akbari, describe Akbar's obsession with efficient administration, with courtiers like you ensuring the empire's wheels keep turning. You unroll the first scroll, its parchment crackling, and scan a merchant's plea for reduced tariffs on silk imports. Boring, sure, but ignore it, and you'll have a guild riot on your hands. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some scribes slipped coded insults into their reports, trusting that only their friends would notice. You once caught a phrase calling a rival as useful as a one-legged camel. Childish, but you'd chuckle for days. Historians still argue whether Akbar's bureaucracy was a marvel of centralized control or a chaotic mess held together by sheer willpower. You lean toward the latter, especially when you see the next scroll. A farmer claiming his neighbor's cow ate his entire harvest. Really? You roll your eyes, picturing the cow smugly chewing through a field. Court life's absurdities never cease. You dip a quill into an ink pot, its sharp scent cutting through the room's musty air, and start drafting a response. The merchant's tariff plea needs finesse. Grant too much and the treasury suffers. Deny it, and he might bribe your rival instead. You scribble a compromise, suggesting a temporary reduction if he funds a new market stall. It's a classic Mughal move. Give a little, gain loyalty. The scribe across from you, a thin man with a perpetual squint, glances up and nods approvingly. He's one of the good ones, loyal but not fawning, and you make a mental note to slip him some extra coin later. Loyalty's a currency here, and you're not above spending it. The next scroll is trickier, a governor's report from Bengal, hinting at unrest among local zamindars. You frown, tracing the spidery script. Trouble in the provinces could ripple back to court. And you don't need that kind of headache. You jot a note to discuss this with the Emperor's treasurer, the one you've been cozying up to for that canal project. A breeze from a lattice window stirs the scrolls, and you glance outside, where a gardener trims a rose bush with surgical precision. It's a reminder of the palace's order, but also fragility. One wrong cut, and the whole bush wilts. Kind of like your career, you think, chuckling softly. A servant enters, balancing a tray with a silver cup of minted water and a plate of pistachios. You pop a nut into your mouth, its crunch grounding you as you tackle the next petition, a dispute over water rights between two villages. You sigh. It's always water or cows. You draft a suggestion for a shared irrigation channel, hoping it'll keep both sides quiet. The scribe raises an eyebrow, and you shrug. Better than them throwing rocks at each other, you mutter, and he smirks, a rare crack in his stoic facade. You like these moments, when the palace's formality slips, and you're just two people drowning in paperwork. The chamber's quiet hum is broken by a distant shout, probably a courier delivering urgent news. You pause, quill hovering, but no one bursts in, so you return to the scrolls. The governor's report nags at you, though. You make another note to check with a spy you've got in Bengal. Not official, of course, but every courtier has their sources. You lean back, stretching your arms, and catch a glimpse of your reflection in the inkpot's polished rim. The coal under your eyes is smudged, but it adds a certain gravitas, or so you tell yourself. A fly buzzes past, and you swat it, missing spectacularly. Typical, you think. Can't even win against the bug. As midday heat seeps into the room, you wrap up the last scroll, a minor noble's request for a bigger estate. You deny it with a flourish, knowing he's been skimming taxes. The scribe collects your drafts, his hand swift and silent, and you rise, your robes rustling. The rosewater scent has faded, but the weight of your duties hasn't. You step into the corridor, the cool marble of relief underfoot, and head toward the garden for lunch. The court's intrigues await, but for now, you survived the morning's paper storm, and that's victory enough. You step from the stuffy scribe's chamber into the open air of the palace gardens, where the midday sun bathes everything in a golden haze. The scent of jasmine and freshly cut grass replaces the ink and parchment of your morning, and your robes, still crisp, thank the stars, sway as you walk toward a shaded pavilion. Lunch awaits, a brief escape from the court's scheming, and you're ready for it. The gardens are a masterpiece, with rose bushes trimmed into perfect domes and fountains that burble like they're gossiping about the courtiers. You spot a peacock strutting across a lawn, its tail feathers shimmering like a living jewel. Show off, you think, but you're not one to talk, with that emerald glinting in your turban. The pavilion is a low, open structure draped with silk curtains that flutter in the breeze. A long table is set with platters of sliced melons, bowls of spiced rice, and delicate pastries stuffed with minced lamb. You settle onto a cushion, the silk cool against your legs, and an attendant places a brass plate before you. Historical accounts, like those in the Barnuma, describe Mughal garden feasts as displays of imperial abundance, meant to dazzle as much as nourish. You pick up a slice of melon, its juice dripping down your fingers, and savor the sweet coolness. It's a far cry from the dusty scrolls you left behind, and you're grateful for the reprieve. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers believed eating mangoes under a full moon boosted their charisma. Nonsense, probably. But you've seen nobles sneak fruit to their chambers at midnight. You stick to daylight dining. Thanks. Historians still argue whether these garden feasts were about fostering unity or subtly reinforcing the emperor's dominance, with every bite a reminder of his generosity. You lean toward the latter. Akbar's no fool, and neither are you. You wipe your hands on a damp cloth an attendant offers, noting the faint rosewater scent still clinging to your skin. Callbacks to your morning bath. keeping you grounded. A poet, his turban a riot of saffron silk, begins reciting verses from a nearby cushion. His words drift over the pavilion like a lazy breeze, praising the emperor's wisdom in rhyming couplets. You nod politely, but you're more focused on the rice, fragrant with saffron and studded with raisins. The poet's good. You'll give him that, but his last ode got him a week in the emperor's bad graces for being too flowery. You smirk, remembering his panicked face. Poetry's a risky business here. You spoon some rice onto your plate, its warmth a comfort, and glance at the other courtiers. Your bearded rivals here, picking at a pastry like it personally offended him. You catch his eye and raise your glass of sherbet in a mock toast. He scowls. Point for you. The peacocks are bolder now, one hopping onto the table's edge, eyeing a stray grape. You shoo it gently, chuckling as it flounces off, tail feathers quivering. It's a moment of levity, but the court's tension never fully fades. A noble nearby whispers about a trade deal gone sour, and you eavesdrop shamelessly, filing the tidbit away. Information's currency, and you're always collecting. You take a bite of lamb pastry. Its spice is bursting on your tongue, and lean back, letting the poet's voice wash over you. His latest verse compares Akbar to the sun. Original, you think, rolling your eyes. Still, the crowd claps, and you join in, not want to seem aloof. A servant refills your sherbet, the glass cool against your palm, and you sip slowly, watching a butterfly dance over a rose bush. The gardens are a bubble of calm, but you know it's temporary. Beyond these hedges, the emperor's waiting, and with him, a fresh round of petitions and power plays. You pop a grape into your mouth, its tartness a sharp contrast to the meal's richness, and think about the Bengal governor's report from earlier. That unrest could complicate things, especially if your rival's sniffing around the same opportunity. You make a mental note to charm the treasurer at the next audience. Maybe mention the canal project again. The poet finishes, bowing dramatically, and you clap again, though your mind's already drifting to the afternoon's duties. A servant offers a tray of sweets, rosewater-soaked gulab jamun, glistening like tiny suns. You take one, its syrupy sweetness a perfect cap to the meal, and rise, brushing crumbs from your robes. The peacock's back, eyeing you like you owe it a tip. You toss it a grape, grinning as it snatches at midair. The gardens are a brief paradise, but the court's pull is relentless. You adjust your turban, the emerald catching the sunlight, and stride toward the palace, ready to face the next act of this endless drama. You leave the garden's fragrant shade behind, the taste of gulab jamun still sweet on your tongue, and step back into the palace's labyrinthine corridors. The sun's high now, baking the marble underfoot, and your silk robes feel heavier as you head toward the Diwan-Khas, the hall of private audiences. This is where the real deals are struck. Merchants, envoys, and the occasional desperate noble plead their cases before Akbar's sharp eyes. Your role? Mediate, advise, and if you're smart, tilt the scales in your favor, without anyone noticing. The rosewater scent from your morning bath lingers faintly, a quiet anchor as you brace for the court's next act. The air hums with anticipation, and you can almost hear the clink of invisible chess pieces moving. The Diwan-Khas is smaller than the public hall, its walls inlaid with mother-of-pearl that glints like a starry night. Akbar sits on a cushioned throne, his turban a cascade of jewels, and you feel his gaze before you see it, like a hawk sizing up its prey. Historical records, like those from Jesuit missionaries at Akbar's court, describe his knack for reading people, spotting lies in a twitch of the mouth. You bow low, your emerald catching the light, and take your place among a handful of courtiers. The room's alive with tension, every word potential trap. You spot your bearded rival lurking near a pillar, his eyes darting. He's up to something, but aren't you all? Here's a quirky tidbit. Some envoys brought parrots as gifts, trained to squawk flattery in Persian. One bird called Akbar Lord of the Universe mid-audience. Cute, until it pooped on a noble's robe. You stifle a chuckle, remembering the poor man's face. Historians still argue whether Akbar's private audiences were about governance or a stage for him to flex his charisma, keeping everyone slightly off balance. You lean toward the latter. He's too good at this game to be just signing paperwork. A merchant from Persia steps forward, his robe stiff with gold thread, pleading for a monopoly on saffron imports. His voice is smooth, but his hands fidget, betraying nerves. You listen, leaning against a pillar, its coolness a relief in the stuffy room. The merchant's case is solid. Saffron's a fortune, and his caravan routes are reliable. But granting monopolies is a slippery slope. You catch Akbar's eye, and he nods slightly, signaling you to speak. You clear your throat, suggesting a limited license instead, tied to a hefty tax. The merchant's face tightens, but Akbar nods again, approving. Score 1 for you, but you keep your expression neutral. No need to gloat yet. Next up is an envoy from a Deccan sultanate, his turban modest but his eyes sharp. He's here to negotiate a truce after a border skirmish, likely tied to that Bengal report you read earlier. You listen closely, noting his careful phrasing, peace, but with a hint of defiance. You glance at your rival, who's whispering to a scribe, trying to steal this one, are you? You step forward, offering a compromise, a joint patrol along the border, funded by both sides. The envoy hesitates, then agrees, and Akbar's lips twitch in what might be a smile. You're walking a tightrope, but so far, you're steady. A servant offers you a cup of spiced tea. Its steam curling like a genie from a lamp. You sip, the clothes warming your throat, and scan the room. The merchant's still here, muttering to a noble you don't trust. Trouble brewing, maybe, but you file it away for later. The envoy's departure leaves a lull, and you use it to chat with a fellow courtier about the treasurer's canal project. He's noncommittal, but his eyes flicker with interest. You're planting seeds, and you're good at it. Just don't expect them to sprout without a fight. The heat's oppressive now, and you're grateful for the Rosewater's faint coolness on your skin. A fly buzzes past, and you swat it, missing again. Useless, you think, but at least no one saw. The next petitioner's a minor, noble whining about a land dispute, and you half listen, your mind on the envoy's truce. If it holds, it could ease the Bengal tension, but you're not holding your breath. Akbar dismisses the noble with a wave, and you catch a glint of amusement in his eyes. He's enjoying this, isn't he? You adjust your sash, feeling the silk slide against your fingers, and brace for the next round. The court's a marathon, and you're pacing yourself. As the audience winds down, you slip out, nodding to a guard whose scowl never wavers. The corridor's cooler, and you pause by a fountain, its water tinkling like a lullaby. You're halfway through the day, and the weight of it, petitions, plots, and that damn fly, settles on your shoulders. But the Sitar recital's coming, and that's something to look forward to. For now, you straighten your turban and head toward the next duty, the Rosewater scent fading, but your focus sharp as ever. You stride from the Diwan-i-Khas, the envoy's truce and the merchant's sour face still lingering in your thoughts, and make your way toward a candlelit hall where the air vibrates with the promise of music. The palace feels different now, its daytime bustle softening as the sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the marble floors. Your robes, still pristine despite the day's grind, rustle softly, and the faint rosewater scent from your morning bath clings like a loyal friend. You're headed to Sitar recital, a rare moment where the court scheming takes a backseat to something almost pure, music that can make even a jaded courtier like you pause. The hall's arched entrance looms ahead, framed by intricate mosaics that shimmer in the flickering light of chandeliers. Inside, the room is a cocoon of sound and splendor. Low cushions line the floor, occupied by nobles in silks as vibrant as a monsoon sunset. The sitar player, a wiry man with fingers like lightning, sits cross-legged on a raised platform, his instrument gleaming under the lamplight. Historical records, like those from Mughal court poets, describe music as a divine bridge, a way to touch the sublime amid the empire's chaos. You settle onto a cushion, the silk cool against your legs, and let the first notes wash over you. Pluck strings that ripple like a stream over pebbles. It's hypnotic. And for a moment, you forget the treasurer's canal project and your bearded rival scheming. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers claim sitar music could cure headaches, swearing by vibrations to realign the soul. You're skeptical. Your headaches usually come from nobles, not misaligned spirits, but you can't deny the music's pull. Historians still argue whether Akbar used these recitals to soothe tensions or subtly gauge his courtier's loyalty, watching who clapped hardest. You lean toward the latter. Akbar misses nothing. You glance around, spotting your rival across the room, his beard twitching as he whispers to a scribe. Even here, he's working. You smirk, adjusting your turban's emerald, and focus on the music. The sitar's notes climb, weaving a melody that feels like a story, joyful, then mournful, then soaring again. An attendant offers you a silver tray with rosewater-soaked almonds, and you take one, its sweetness a callback to your morning's rituals. You chew slowly, letting the music sink in. The player's fingers dance, coaxing sounds that seem to float above the room, and you notice a noble nearby wiping a tear. Sentimental fool, you think, but you get it. The music's a brief escape, a reminder that there's more to this life than petitions and power plays. You lean back, your robe settling around you, and catch a whiff of jasmine from a nearby vase. It's almost too perfect, like a painting you're afraid to touch. A second musician joins, tapping a tabla with a rhythm that pulses like a heartbeat. The crowd murmurs approval, and you clap lightly, not wanting to seem too eager. The noble next to you, a portly man with a turban like a small fortress, leans over and whispers about a spice deal he's brokering. You nod, half listening, your eyes on the sitar player. Business never stops, does it? You think of that peacock from lunch, strutting like it owned the gardens, kind of like this noble prattling on about saffron prices. You stifle a chuckle, imagining him with tail feathers. The music swells, drowning out his voice, and you're grateful for the reprieve. The recital's magic isn't just a sound. It's the room itself. Chandeliers drip with crystal, their light fracturing into rainbows across the walls. You glance up, mesmerized by the patterns, and wonder how many artisans slaved over this hall. The Mughal Empire's wealth is staggering, but so is its cost. Every note, every jewel, built on taxes and conquest. You push the thought aside. Cynicism's a lousy guess at a recital. Instead, you focus on the tabla's beat, its rhythm syncing with your pulse. A servant offers you a cup of sherbet, its rosewater tang familiar and grounding. You sip, the coolness of relief in the warm room, and nod your thanks. Your rival still whispering, his scribe scribbling furiously. You make a mental note to check what he's plotting, probably sniffing around your canal project. The music dips, the sitar's notes softening to a whisper, and the room holds its breath. Even the chandeliers seem to dim, or maybe that's just the mood. The player pauses, then launches into a final flourish. His fingers a blur. The crowd erupts in applause, and you join in, your claps measured but genuine. The noble beside you claps like he's trying to summon a storm, and you roll your eyes. Overkill, buddy. As the musicians bow, you rise, your robes rustling. The recital's over, but its echo lingers, a rare moment of beauty in a day of maneuvering. You step into the corridor, the evening air cooler now, and feel the weight of your duties settle back onto your shoulders. The palace glows softly, its marble halls waiting for your next move. You adjust your sash, the silk smooth under your fingers, and head toward the evening's next act, the music still humming in your veins. You step from the Sitar recital's glowing warmth into the cooling embrace of the palace's marble corridors, the music's final notes still humming in your chest like a half-remembered dream. The evening settling over Fate Persikri, and the air carries a crisp edge, tinged with the scent of jasmine from unseen gardens. Your robes, heavy with silk and silver, swish as you walk, the emerald in your turban catching the flicker of oil lamps along the walls. You're headed for a leisurely stroll through the palace's grand halls, a chance to stretch your legs and clear your mind before the evening's banquet. The court's intrigues never sleep. But for now, you let the marble's cool beauty pull you into a quieter rhythm. The day's been a marathon, petitions, envoys, and that bearded rival's endless scheming. And this walk is your moment to breathe. The halls are a maze of splendor, their arches soaring like the ambitions of the courtiers who haunt them. Moonlight spills through lattice windows, painting the floor with patterns that shift as you pass. Historical records, like those from Akbar's chroniclers, describe Fate Persikri's architecture as a deliberate flex of imperial power. Every carved pillar a reminder of the empire's reach. You trail your fingers along a sandstone wall, its surface cool and smooth, etched with vines that seem to writhe in the dim light. It's almost too perfect, like walking through a poet's fever dream. You smirk, remembering that peacock from lunch, nature's interior decorator, outdone by human hands. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers swore the palace's marble held magical properties, claiming it cooled tempers if you touched it during arguments. You've never bought into that, but you're not above pressing your palm to a pillar for luck, especially after dodging your rival's whispers at the recital. Historians still argue whether Akbar's architectural obsession was about beauty or control, designing spaces to awe and intimidate. You lean toward both. The man's a master at blending the two. The rosewater scent from your morning bath lingers faintly, a callback to the day's start, grounding you as you wander. You pass a courtyard where a fountain burbles, its water glinting like liquid silver under the moon. A lone servant sweeps the tiles, his broom's soft scrape blending with the night's quiet. You nod to him, and he bows, eyes averted. It's a small gesture, but you know it matters. Courtiers who ignore the help don't last long. The corridor opens to a balcony overlooking the city, and you pause, leaning against a carved railing. Below, Fate Persikri hums. Torches flicker in the bazaar, and a distant muezzin's call weaves through the air. It's a city built on Akbar's whim, and you're part of its pulse, for better or worse. A breeze stirs your robes, and you adjust your sash, feeling the silk smoothness. Your mind drifts to the canal project, your ticket to the emperor's favor, if your rival doesn't sabotage it first. You spot a familiar figure across the courtyard. The poet from lunch, his saffron turban glowing like a beacon. He's scribbling on a scrap of paper, probably composing another ode to Akbar's eyebrows. You chuckle, imagining him reading it to a peacock by mistake. The court's absurdities keep you sane, somehow. You consider calling out, maybe fishing for gossip, but the night's too calm for scheming. Let him scribble. The hall stretches on, its walls adorned with frescoes of mythical beasts, lions with wings, elephants with too many trunks. You wonder what the artisans were thinking, or if they were just showing off. A lamp flickers, casting a lion's shadow that seems to stalk you for a moment. Silly, you think, but you quicken your pace anyway. The palace has a way of playing tricks, its grandeur masking 1,000 secrets. You pass a niche where a single rose rests, its petals bruised but fragrant. Someone's love token, maybe, or a forgotten offering. You leave it be, not one for sentiment. Your stroll takes you past the emperor's private quarters, guarded by stone-faced soldiers whose armor clinks softly. You nod, and they nod back, their eyes scanning you like hawks. No one enters here without Akbar's say-so, not even a courtier with an emerald the size of a quail's egg. You keep walking, the marble cool under your sandals, and think about the day's victories, the envoy's truce, the merchant's compromise. Small wins, but they add up. Your rival's still a thorn, though, and you make a mental note to check on that scribe he was whispering to. Information's a weapon, and you're always armed. The corridor curves, leading back toward the banquet hall, where dinner awaits. You pause by another fountain. Its water catching the moonlight like a mirror. Your reflection stares back, coal-smudged eyes and all, and you adjust your turban, smirking at your own vanity. The Rosewater scent is nearly gone now, but the day's weight remains. You're a courtier, not a poet, and the palace's beauty is just a backdrop to the game you play. You take a deep breath, the night air sharp and clean, and head toward the banquet, ready to face the court's next act with a full stomach and a sharper mind. You step from the moonlit corridors into the warm glow of the banquet hall, where the air is thick with the aroma of roasted meats, saffron rice, and something decadently sweet. Probably those syrupy sweets you can never resist. Your robes, still holding their own after a long day, rustle as you weave through clusters of courtiers, their turbans bobbing like colorful buoys in a sea of silk. The hall is a spectacle, its walls draped with embroidered tapestries that tell tales of Mughal conquests, their gold threads glinting under chandeliers. You're here for the evening's grand dinner, a culinary circus where every dish is a statement and every glance a potential plot. The rosewater scent from your morning bath is a faint memory now, but it's enough to keep you grounded as you navigate this glittering battlefield. Low tables stretch across the room, laden with platters that could feed a small village. Whole roasted lambs, their skin crisp and spiced with cumin, bowls of biryani, fragrant with cloves and star anise, and trays of glistening fruits, pomegranates, mangoes, and grapes that look like they were plucked from a painting. Historical records, like those in the Ain Akbari, describe Mughal banquets as lavish displays of imperial wealth, meant to dazzle allies and intimidate rivals. You settle onto a silk cushion, an attendant sliding a brass plate before you with the precision of a clockmaker. You pick up a piece of naan. It's warmed soft against your fingers, and tear it, dipping it into a rich mutton curry. The spices hit like a friendly punch, and you lean back, savoring the moment. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers slip gold flakes into their desserts, claiming it boosted their inner radiance. You try it once, mostly to see if you glow. Spoiler, you didn't, but your stomach wasn't thrilled either. Historians still argue whether these banquets were about unity or subtle power play, with Akbar using abundance to keep his nobles loyal. You suspect it's both. Nothing in this court is ever just one thing. You glance around, spotting your bearded rival across the table, stabbing at a piece of lamb like it insulted his mother. You raise your glass of sherbet in a mock toast, and he glares. Still sore from the recital. Huh? You think, smirking. An attendant refills your plate with biryani, its saffron threads glowing like tiny flames. You spoon some up, the rice fluffy and fragrant, and catch a snippet of conversation from a nearby noble about a trade deal with Portuguese merchants. Your ears perk up. Trade deals mean influence, and you're always hunting for an edge. You lean toward the noble, a portly man with a turban like a small fortress, and ask a casual question about the deal's terms. He waves a hand, dismissing it as minor, but his eyes flicker. Liar, you think, filing it away for later. The court's a chessboard, and you're always 3 moves ahead, or at least you hope so. A dancer glides into the hall, her anklets jingling in time with a tabla's beat. Her movements are fluid, like water under moonlight, and the room quiets, entranced. You take a sip of sherbet, its rosewater tang a faint echo of your morning, and watch her spin, her crimson skirt flaring. It's a rare moment of beauty, but you're not fooled. The court's watching her, sure, but they're also watching each other. You spot a scribe whispering to your rival, and your jaw tightens. That canal project's too close to slipping through your fingers. You make a mental note to corner the treasure tonight, maybe over a plate of those addictive gulab jamans. The lamb's tender, melting in your mouth, and you follow with a grape, its tartness cutting through the richness. A noble nearby laughs too loudly at a joke, and you roll your eyes, probably trying to impress the emperor's cousin, who's lounging at the head table. You've seen that game before. It rarely ends well. You think of the peacock from lunch, strutting like it owned the gardens, and chuckle. Half these courtiers are just human peacocks, flashing their wealth and hoping Akbar notices. You're no saint, but at least your emerald's tasteful. The dancer finishes, bowing low, and the room erupts in applause. You clap, your hands steady, and catch Akbar's eye from across the hall. He nods, a small gesture that feels like a spotlight. You nod back, keeping your face neutral, but your pulse quickens. His approval's a currency, and you're saving up. The banquet's winding down, plates emptying and voices growing softer. You pop a gulab jamun into your mouth, its syrupy sweetness a perfect cap, and rise, brushing crumbs from your robes. The night's not over. There's a debate to attend, and you're not about to let your rival steal the stage. You adjust your sash and head out, the hall's warmth lingering as you brace for the next act. You glide from the banquet hall's warm glow, the taste of gulab jamun still lingering like a sweet secret, and step into a quieter corridor where the night's coolness wraps around you. Your robes, heavy with silk and the day's weight, rustle softly as you head toward a small chamber where scholars gather for evening debates. The palace feels different now, its marble halls hushed, the moonlight spilling through lattice windows like a silver veil. The rosewater scent from your morning bath is barely a whisper, but it's enough to anchor you as you brace for the intellectual sparring ahead. These debates, on philosophy, astronomy, or whatever else strikes Akbar's fancy, are less about truth and more about who can sound the wisest without tripping over their own ego. You're ready to play the game, emerald glinting in your turban and all. The chamber is intimate, its walls lined with shelves of manuscripts, their leather bindings glowing faintly under oil lamps. A dozen scholars and courtiers sit on cushions around a low table, their voices soft but sharp, like knives wrapped in velvet. Akbar's there, reclining on a cushioned divan, his eyes glinting with curiosity. Historical records, like those from the chronicler Abu al-Fazl, describe these debates as a hallmark of his court, blending Hindu, Muslim, and Jain ideas to forge a new kind of wisdom. You settle onto a cushion, the silk cool against your legs, and nod to the scholar you recognize, a wiry man with a beard like a philosopher's stereotype. He's holding forth on the stars, claiming they predict imperial success. You raise an eyebrow. Bold move. Buddy, here's a quirky tidbit. Some scholars slip poetry into their arguments, thinking it'd charm Akbar into agreement. One once compared the emperor's mind to a comet, dazzling, but it got him laugh out of the room. Historians still argue whether these debates were genuine quest for truth or just Akbar testing his courtiers' wits, keeping them sharp or exposing their flaws. You suspect it's both. Nothing here is ever simple. You catch your bearded rival's eye across the room. He's here, of course, stroking his disaster of a beard like it's a pet. You smirk, remembering his scowl at the banquet. Still so are we? The scholar shifts to a discussion of fate versus free will, a topic that's like quicksand for the unprepared. You listen, sipping a cup of minted water an attendant hands you, its coolness a faint echo of the morning's rosewater. The scholar argues that the stars dictate destiny, but you're not buying it. Your canal project's success depends on your moves, not some twinkling speck. You lean forward, offering a counterpoint. If fate rules all, why bother governing? The room hums with murmurs, and Akbar's lips twitch, a sign you've landed a hit. Your rival jumps in, arguing for divine will, but his voice wavers. Nervous, you think, and you press the advantage, suggesting human choice shapes empires more than stars. The scholars nod, and you feel a small thrill. Point for you. A servant refills your cup, and you sip again, the mint sharp on your tongue. The debate shifts to mathematics, with a young scholar claiming the Persians perfected geometry. You stifle a yawn. Numbers are fine, but they don't win favor like a clever quip. You toss in a light jab, comparing geometry court life. Full of angles, but you've got to know which ones to trust. The room chuckles, even Akbar, and you lean back, satisfied. Your rival glares, his beard practically bristling. You think of that peacock from lunch, strutting through the gardens, and grin. Some people never learn to tone it down. The discussion drifts to theology, a dangerous topic. A Jain scholar argues for nonviolence, his voice soft but firm, while a Muslim poet counters with tales of righteous conquest. You stay quiet, letting them clash. Better to watch them wade into that mess. Akbar's eyes dart between speakers, and you wonder what he's really after. Is he seeking truth or just enjoying the show? You glance at a manuscript on the table. Its pages filled with star charts. Pretty, but you'd rather chart your own path, like that canal project you're still pushing. You make a mental note to nudge the treasurer again, maybe over breakfast tomorrow. The debate winds down, the scholars' voices growing softer, like embers fading. You rise, your robe settling around you, and nod to Akbar, who returns a slight nod. His approval's a currency, and you're banking it. The chamber's air is heavy with ink and ideas, and you step into the corridor, the marble cool under your sandals. A distant sitar's notes float through the night, a callback to the recital, and you pause, letting them sink in. The day's been long, petitions, banquets, debates, but you're still standing. You adjust your sash, the silk smooth against your fingers, and head toward the courtyard, ready for a moment of quiet before the night's final act. You slip from the scholars' chamber, the weight of their lofty debate still buzzing in your mind like a distant swarm of bees, and step into a courtyard where the night air feels like a cool hand on your brow. The moon hangs low, bathing Fate Persicry's marble in a silvery glow, and your robes, still holding up, bless the emerald in your turban, swish softly as you wander toward a quiet corner. The rosewater scent from your morning bath is a ghost now, but its memory steadies you as you seek a moment of solitude under the stars. The palace never truly sleeps. But here, away from the banquet's clamor and the scholars' sparring, you can almost hear your own thoughts. This is your chance to reflect, to let the day's chaos settle like dust after a storm. The courtyard is a haven of shadows and light, its fountains whispering secrets to the night. You settle onto a low stone bench, its surface cool against your legs, and gaze upward. The stars are sharp, like diamonds scattered across black velvet, and you wonder if that scholar's talk of fate wasn't complete nonsense. Historical records, like those from Mughal astronomers, note Akbar's fascination with the cosmos, his court often hosting stargazers who map the heavens with eerie precision. You're no astronomer, but the sky's vastness makes your canal project, and your rival's scheming seems small. Almost, you smirk, thinking of that bearded menace tripping over his own ambition at the banquet. Stars or no stars, you're not letting him win. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers carried tiny astrolabes, claiming they could predict rivals' moves by the planet's alignment. You saw one noble fumble as during a debate, and it clattered like a dropped coin. Embarrassing, but you'd be lying if you said you didn't check the stars before big court days. Historians still argue whether Akbar's stargazing was a quest for knowledge or a way to keep his court guessing, cloaking his decisions in cosmic mystery. You lean toward the latter. The man's too clever to leave anything to chance. You stretch your arms, feeling the silk of your robe shift, and let the fountain's soft burble pull you deeper into the moment. A breeze stirs, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from a nearby bush, and you close your eyes just for a second. The day replays. The merchant's tariff plea, the envoy's truce, the sitar's haunting notes. You've danced through it all, your emerald glinting, your words sharp but measured. But that Bengal report nags at you. Unrest could derail your plans, and your rival's probably sniffing around it like a jackal. You open your eyes, spotting a shooting star streak across the sky. A sign? Maybe, but you're not the type to bet on omens. Still, you make a silent wish for the treasurer's support. Can't hurt, right? A peacock's cry pierces the quiet, and you chuckle, remembering that strutting bird from lunch. Nature's courtier, always stealing the show. You glance at the fountain, its water catching the moonlight like a mirror, and see your reflection, coal-smudged eyes, turban slightly tilted. You adjust it, grinning at your own vanity. The courtyard's empty save for a lone servant sweeping in the distance. His broom's soft scrape a steady rhythm. You nod to him, and he bows, barely visible in the shadows. It's a small gesture, but you know it's noticed. Kindness to the help is a long-term investment. Your mind drifts to the canal project, your ticket to Akbar's inner circle. If you pull it off, it's a legacy. If you fail, it's a one-way trip to obscurity. You lean back, the bench of stone grounding you, and trace the stars with your eyes, picking out patterns you don't understand but appreciate. The night's calm is a rare gift, and you savor it, knowing the palace's pulse will quicken again soon. A distant sitar's notes float through the air, a faint echo of the recital, and you hum along, off-key but unbothered. You're a courtier, not a musician, after all. A guard passes, his armor clinking softly, and you nod, keeping your face neutral. The court's watching, even here, and you're always on stage. You rise, your robe settling like a curtain, and take a final look at the stars. They're beautiful, sure, but they won't solve your problems. That's on you, your wit, your alliances, your ability to outmaneuver that bearded pest. You adjust your sash, the silk smooth under your fingers, and head toward your chambers, the night's quiet lingering like a promise. The day's almost done, but you got one last ritual before sleep, and you're ready to face it with the same grace you've carried all day. You leave the courtyard starry calm behind, the night's cool air still brushing your skin as you slip into a softly lit corridor leading to your private chambers. The palace is quieter now. Its marble halls glow with the flicker of oil lamps, and your robes, still impeccable, that emerald in your turban holding strong, rustle like a whisper as you move. The rosewater scent from your morning bath is a distant memory, but its faint echo clings to you, a subtle tether to the day's start. You're headed for your retiring rituals, a series of small, deliberate acts that signal the end of the court's relentless dance. Attendants await with oils and balms, ready to suit the day's weight from your shoulders. But you know the real work, keeping your mind sharp for tomorrow, never stops. Your chambers are a sanctuary, their walls draped with embroidered silks in shades of indigo and gold, catching the lamplight like a sunset trapped indoors. A low divan, piled with cushions, sits against one wall, and a brass basin gleams in the corner, already filled with warm water and scented oils. Historical records, like those in the Ain-i-Akbari, describe Mughal courtiers' bedtime rituals as elaborate performances, signaling status even in private moments. You settle onto a stool, and an attendant, a young woman with deft hands, kneels to remove your sandals. Her touch is light, practiced, and you nod your thanks, catching her quick smile before she resumes her work. The water's warmth laps at your feet, infused with sandalwood and lavender, and you exhale, feeling the day's tension loosen just a fraction. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers insisted on sleeping with clove of garlic under their pillow, swearing it warded off nightmares or, weirder still, jealous rivals. You tried it once, mostly as a dare, and woke up smelling like a kitchen mishap. Never again. Historians still argue whether these rituals were about comfort or a way to maintain the court's rigid hierarchy, even in sleep. You lean toward the latter. Everything here, even a foot bath, is a power play. You dip your hands into basin, the oil slick warmth soothing your skin, and think of that peacock from lunch, strutting through the gardens. You're not so different, are you? Polishing your image, even now. The attendant hands you a soft muslin cloth, and you wipe your hands, the sandalwood's earthy scent grounding you. Another attendant, a boy barely old enough to shave, offers a small jar of jasmine oil. You dab it on your wrists and neck, its sweetness a faint nod to the rosewater that started your day. The act feels intimate, almost vulnerable, but you're careful to keep your expression neutral. Attendants talk, and you're not about to give them gossip fodder. You rise, your robes falling away as you slip into a lighter cotton tunic, its fabric cool against your skin. The weight of the day's silk and silver is gone, and for a moment, you're just a man, not a courtier dodging plots. A bronze mirror reflects your face, coal-smudged eyes and all, and you adjust your hair, smirking at your own vanity. The room's quiet, save for the soft splash of water as the attendants tidy up. You glance at a small table where a scroll lies, a reminder of the Bengal report you read earlier. Its hint of unrest still nags, like a splinter you can't quite reach. You make a mental note to check with your spy tomorrow. Your rival's probably already scheming, that bearded pest whispering to scribes at the banquet. You chuckle, imagining him tripping over his own cloak in his haste to outdo you. The court's a circus, and you're one of its better acrobats. An attendant lights a small incense burner, its smoke curling like a dancer's veil, filling the room with a musky scent. You settle onto the divan, the cushions sinking under you, and let your mind wander. The day's been a gauntlet, petitions, debates, that haunting Sitar recital, but you've navigated it with your usual finesse. The canal project's still your ace, but it's a fragile one, and you need the treasurer's nod. You close your eyes, the incense's warmth wrapping around you, and picture the courtyard stars, their sharp light a contrast of this soft room. A distant sitar's notes drift through the window, a faint echo of the evening's music, and you hum along, off-key but unbothered. The attendants finish, bowing low as they slip out, leaving you alone with your thoughts. You lean back, the divan's cushions cradling you, and feel the day's weight settle into something softer, like sand shifting under waves. The palace is never truly still, but here, in this moment, it's close enough. You adjust a cushion. It's silk smooth under your fingers, and let the incense's haze pull you toward sleep. Tomorrow's another game, but for now, you're ready to let the night take you one ritual at a time. You linger in your chambers, the jasmine oil sweetness still clinging to your wrists as you step from the divan, and move toward a small balcony overlooking a darkened courtyard. The palace is hushed now, its marble corridors quiet save for the occasional clink of a guard's armor or the soft shuffle of a servant's footsteps. Your cotton tunic, light and unadorned, feels like freedom after the day's heavy robes, though the emerald's absence in your turban leaves you oddly exposed. The night air is cool, carrying the faint scent of charcoal from distant kitchen fires, and you lean against the balcony's carved railing, letting the day's chaos settle. This is the hour of whispers, when the court's secrets slip through cracks like smoke, and you're here to catch them before sleep claims you. The courtyard below is a pool of shadows, its fountain silent under the moon's pale gaze. A single lamp flickers in a corner, casting long fingers of light across the tiles. Historical records, like those from Mughal chroniclers, note that Akbar's court thrived on gossip, with courtiers trading secrets like currency to climb the emperor's favor. You strain your ears, catching a low murmur from a nearby corridor. Two voices, hushed but urgent, You recognize one, a scribe who was cozying up to your bearded rival at the banquet. Your pulse quickens, but you stay still, blending into the balcony's shadows. Eavesdropping to Courtier's art, and you're a master painter. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers had tiny bells in their robes, hoping the jingle would alert them to spies sneaking close. You tried it once, but it only made you sound like a lost goat, hardly the vibe for Akbar's court. Historians still argue whether this culture whispers was a deliberate tool of Akbar's, encouraging paranoia to keep his nobles in check, or just a natural byproduct of too many egos in one palace. You lean toward the former. Nothing here happens by accident. The Rosewater's faint echo from your morning bath lingers in your memory, a soft anchor as you focus on the voices below. The scribe's talking about a trade caravan delayed in Gujarat. Spices, silks, maybe something shadier. The other voice, gruff and unfamiliar, mentions a name you know. The treasurer, your key to the canal project. Your jaw tightens. Is your rival circling your prize? You lean closer, the railing cool under your palms, and catch a snippet about a meeting tomorrow. You'll need to be there, charming the treasurer before that bearded pest gets his claws in. The voices fade, footsteps retreating, and you exhale, the night air sharp in your lungs. It's a small victory. Knowledge is power, but you're not naive enough to think it's the whole story. A bat flits across the courtyard, its wings a soft rustle, and you smirk, thinking of that peacock from lunch, strutting like it owned the gardens. The court's full of creatures, human and otherwise, all vying for their moment in the sun or moonlight. You glance at the stars, their cold light a stark contrast to the palace's warmth, and wonder that scholar's fate talk had a point. Nah! You decide. You make your own luck, like dodging a rival's plot or nailing a quip in debate. You adjust your tunic. It's cotton soft against your skin, and step back into your chambers, the balcony's secrets tucked safely in your mind. Inside, the incense burner smoke curls lazily, its musky scent blending with the jasmine on your wrists. You settle onto a cushion, picking up a small bronze figurine of an elephant, a gift from a merchant you helped last month. Its trunk is raised, a sign of fortune, and you chuckle, remembering the merchant's claim that it blessed his profits. Superstitious nonsense, but you keep it anyway. Sentiment's rare in this game. The palace is quiet as a fragile thing, and you savor it, knowing tomorrow will bring more petitions, more plots, more of your rival's beard twitching with schemes. A distant sitar's notes drift through the window, a faint echo of the evening's recital, and you hum along, your voice barely a whisper. The day's been a tightrope, banquets, debates, starry reflections, but you've walked it with grace. You set the figurine down, its weight grounding you, and lean back, the cushion sinking under you. The whispers you overheard are a spark, and you'll fan it into flame tomorrow. For now, though, the night's yours, and you're ready to let it pull you towards sleep, one secret at a time. You ease back from the balcony, the courtyard's whispered secrets still curling in your mind like the incense smoke in your chambers. The night's deep now, the palace wrapped in a hush broken only by the faint creak of a distant shutter or the soft strum of sitar fading into silence. Your cotton tunic feels like a sigh against your skin, a far cry from the heavy robes you wore all day, and the emerald's absence in your turban leaves you feeling lighter, almost human. The rosewater scent from your morning bath is gone, but its memory lingers, a thread tying you to the day's start as you drift toward sleep. This is the dream's edge, where the court's sharp edges blur, and you let yourself sink into quiet, ready to let the day dissolve. Your chambers glow softly, the oil lamps casting a warm, flickering light across the embroidered silks on the walls. You settle onto your divan, its cushions sinking under you like a gentle wave, and an attendant, silent as a shadow, places a small clay cup of warm milk beside you, spiced with saffron and a whisper of honey. Historical records, like those in Mughal chronicles, describe such bedtime drinks as a noble's final indulgence, a ritual to soothe the body before the mind wrestles with dreams. You sip slowly, the milk's warmth spreading through you, and let your eyes wander to the ceiling, where carved lotuses seem to bloom in the lamplight. It's almost too lovely, like a lullaby you can see. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some courtiers slept with a dagger under their pillow, claiming it kept bad dreams at bay, or maybe just bad rivals. You tried it once, but the hilt poked your cheek, and you woke up grumpier than your bearded rival after a bad debate. Historians still argue whether these nighttime rituals were about rest or a final layer of courtly control, ensuring even sleep served the empire's rhythm. You lean toward the former tonight. You're too tired for conspiracies. You set the cup down, its warmth lingering in your hands, and think of that peacock from lunch, strutting through the gardens. Maybe it's dreaming now, too, of stealing more grapes. The attendant slips out, leaving you alone with the night's quiet. You lean back, the cushions cradling you, and let your mind drift over the day. Petitions, banquets, the sitar's haunting notes, and those whispers about the treasurer. Your canal project still alive, but your rival circling, his beard practically a villain's cape. You smile faintly, imagining him tripping over it in a dream. The palace's pulses faint now, its marble halls settling into silence, and you feel the weight of your role. Courtier, schemer, survivor soften. The stars you saw earlier, sharp and distant, seem closer now, like they're watching over you. Silly, maybe, but the thought's comforting. A breeze slips through the window, stirring the silk curtains, and you catch a faint whiff of jasmine from the courtyard. It's a call back to your evening stroll, those quiet moments under the moon. You adjust a cushion, its fabric smooth under your fingers, and let your eyes flutter closed. The sitar's echo, that distant melody, weaves through your thoughts, pulling you deeper into the haze. The day's battles, your rival's glares, the envoy's truce, the scholar's starry nonsense, fade like smoke, leaving only the soft rhythm of your breath. You're not just a courtier now. You're a man drifting toward rest, the empire's weight slipping away. The lamps dim, their flames shrinking to embers, and the room grows softer, warmer, like a blanket woven from night itself. You think of the fountain's burble, the peacock's strut, the rosewater's fleeting sweetness. They're all part of this world, this life you've chosen, or maybe it chose you. The milk's warmth lingers in your chest, and you sink deeper into the divan. The cushion's holding you like a friend. Tomorrow will bring new games, new whispers. But for now, you're safe, wrapped in the palace's quiet embrace. The sitar's last note hums in your mind, a gentle nudge toward dreams, and you let it carry you away, the day dissolving into a whisper of starlight. And so you drift, the palace's glow fading like a candle burned low. The marble halls, the scheming courtiers, the emerald that gleamed in your turban, they all soften, blurring into the night's gentle haze. Your breath slows, matching the rhythm of a distant fountain, its water lapping at the edges of your thoughts. The day's weight, one so heavy, slips away, leaving only the warmth of your chambers, the faint scent of jasmine curling through the air. You're no longer navigating petitions or dodging rivals. You're just you, cradled by the quiet, sinking into a dream where the sitar's notes still linger. Let the stars keep watch. Let the palace sleep. You're safe here, wrapped in the night's embrace, drifting deeper, deeper still. Sleep now and let the world wait. Sweet dreams.